The Vorthan Empire had ruled the Kepler sector for 3,000 years. Their massive star fortresses, each the size of a small moon, had never fallen to enemy fire. The greatest military minds of a dozen species had tried and failed to breach even one of these impregnable bastions. Commander Zextar of the Galactic Liberation Front stared at the tactical display with growing desperation. The fortress designated Bastion 7 hung in space like a metallic Death Star, its surface bristling with plasma cannons and shield generators. 68 Allied fleets had thrown themselves against its defenses over the past century. All had been reduced to cosmic dust. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Quindal, her crystalline voice trembling, "the Terran volunteer has arrived." Zextar's 4 eyes narrowed. Humans were a recent addition to the galactic community, barely 2 centuries since first contact. Their technology was primitive, their ships laughably small compared to the kilometer-long dreadnoughts of established civilizations. What could one human possibly accomplish where entire armadas had failed? The human pilot materialized on the bridge via transport beam. She was unremarkably small, even by human standards, with short brown hair and wearing a patched flight suit that had seen better decades. Her vessel, visible through the viewport, was equally unimpressive, a modified cargo hauler no larger than an escape pod. "Captain Sarah Chen, reporting for duty," she said with a casual salute that made several alien officers flinch at its informality. "Captain Chen," Zextar began diplomatically, "while we appreciate Terra's enthusiasm, perhaps you should observe from a safe distance while our main fleet—" "With respect, Commander," Chen interrupted, "I've studied every battle record from the past 100 years. Every fleet made the same mistake. They tried to fight the fortress from the outside." Admiral Throckvin of the Hegemony Navy let out a rumbling laugh. "Child, we have thrown planet killers at those shields. We have deployed gravitational weapons that could collapse a star. Nothing penetrates. Vorthan defensive matrices." Chen smiled, a peculiarly human expression that somehow conveyed both confidence and mild insanity. "That's why I'm not going to attack it. I'm going inside." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Several species present didn't even have words for such a concept. "Impossible," declared General Vexrim, his mandibles clicking nervously. "The fortress has no external ports, no docking bays. It's a seamless shell of neutronium armor." "No docking bays?" Chen pulled up a holographic schematic. "Then what do you call these?" She highlighted dozens of barely visible indentations across the fortress's surface. Zextar leaned forward. "Those are waste heat vents. Each is barely 3 meters wide and protected by 16 layers of automated defense grids, plasma barriers, and gravitational shears." "I know." Chen's grin widened. "Lucky for me, I learned to fly threading asteroid fields during solar storms. This should be fun." Before anyone could protest, Chen had beamed back to her ship. The tiny vessel detached from the Liberation Fleet and began a seemingly suicidal approach toward Bastion 7. The fortress immediately responded to the intrusion. Massive turrets swiveled to track the minuscule target, unleashing torrents of destructive energy. Chen's ship danced between the beams, with impossible precision, following flight patterns that defied 3-dimensional thinking. She corkscrewed through plasma bursts, slipped sideways through gravitational fields, and somehow made her tiny craft behave like a drop of water sliding down glass. "She's actually reaching the perimeter," whispered Quindal in amazement. The real test came at the heat vents. Each opening was a maze of death, automated systems designed to incinerate anything larger than a molecule. Chen's ship folded its solar panels, retracted every non-essential component, and squeezed into the first vent like thread through a needle's eye. For 17 agonizing minutes, the Liberation Fleet watched their sensors as the human craft navigated the fortress's internal systems. She moved through maintenance shafts never meant for vessels, crawled along power conduits barely wide enough for her ship, and somehow avoided detection by internal security. Then, impossibly, Bastion 7's massive guns went silent. "What's happening?" demanded Admiral Throckvin. Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "Turns out these fortresses were designed by the Vorthan's ancestors, a species that went extinct 50,000 years ago. The control systems are so old they don't even recognize modern security protocols. I've just convinced the central computer that I'm a returning maintenance crew. Throughout the fortress, ancient systems awakened at Chen's touch. She had spent months learning dead Vorthan languages, studying archaeological records that other species had dismissed as useless historical trivia. While brilliant military strategists planned elaborate assaults, a human cargo pilot had simply asked, "Who built this thing, and how did they expect to get inside?" One by one, Bastion 7's defensive systems shut down, shield generators powered down, weapons arrays went offline. Docking bays, hidden for millennia, opened to welcome the Liberation Fleet. "Control systems are yours, Commander," Chen reported casually. "I've also located 63 more fortresses with identical vulnerabilities. Apparently, the Vorthans never changed their passwords." As the Liberation Fleet moved in to secure the fortress, Zextar found himself reconsidering everything he thought he knew about warfare. The other species had spent centuries trying to break the Vorthans through superior firepower and advanced technology. It had taken a human to realize that sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy was simply to knock on the front door and ask politely to come in. Chen's tiny ship emerged from the fortress's maintenance port, its hull scorched but intact. As she rejoined the fleet, her transmission carried that distinctly human mixture of pride and self-deprecation. "1-star fortress down, Commander. Same time tomorrow for the next one." The Vorthan Empire had ruled for 3 millennia through technological superiority and overwhelming force. They would fall in 3 months to a species that had learned the most dangerous skill in the galaxy: creative thinking. After all, every problem looks like a nail when all you have is a hammer. But humans had spent their entire evolutionary history learning to use rocks, sticks, and whatever else they could find. Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door,